All right, guys, we've got our 2024 NFL preview here for the Baltimore Ravens. Over under 10.5 is their season win total. We're going to jump right on into it. John Harbaugh remains coach. Todd Monken remains offensive coordinator. I like Todd Monken, but I don't want to say he's one of those who took the league by storm or anything like that. Very much, I don't want to say a basic offense, but par for the course kind of offense for the new passing styles and things you see all over the place. Then Mike Macdonald leaves and Zach Orr comes in. This might be a big loss. It might not. We'll see. But Mike Macdonald is a really, really good defensive coordinator, a really, really good game-to-game planner for the Baltimore Ravens. So interesting. We'll see how the coordination goes here on defense. But Harbaugh's a good coach. Monken's a pretty good offensive coordinator. I expect those to be up to standard, and we'll see with Zach Orr if he can go ahead and replicate what happened with Mike Macdonald going game to game. Onto the roster, though. Quarterback, Lamar Jackson, always an edge with him. Really difficult to plan for. It's almost impossible to plan for him, really. That's kind of where you target the Ravens on short weeks, where teams are on short weeks, coming to Baltimore, that kind of stuff. That's where you look for the Ravens offense to really have a really good game. Excellent runner, obviously. Good thrower of the football during the regular season. Postseason, things are a little bit different with Baltimore as a whole, but we're doing kind of regular season stuff here for now. And the system's good enough to get players open for Lamar. And yeah, as I said, postseason's a little bit different. Teams kind of key in on his rushing a little bit and make him beat him with his arm, and it's as much as Lamar Jackson's obviously an excellent NFL quarterback, he's not going to 100% beat you with his arm all the time. But an excellent quarterback. He's still in my top 3. Yeah, I think he may have been third or fourth. But yeah, excellent. We don't want to lose him, though. Josh Johnson, the backup. Not ideal there, though. Fits the system. Running back room. Interesting here is they bring in Derrick Henry. Justice Hill is okay behind him. Keaton Mitchell. I really like Keaton Mitchell, but he'll probably won't even be back till December or something like that. So not really a factor early on, or he won't be a factor till late if he's a factor at all. But Derrick Henry comes in, kind of a weird fit in terms of how they're going to run the football formational wise. Like, he does a lot of, how do I say that? They're going to run, they ran a lot out of the gun last year, kind of doing RPOs and things like that. That's not really Derrick Henry's style, but he's an excellent running back, and they'll probably maneuver some things for him, and he'll probably step right into that role as it is anyway. So I don't want to say that Derrick Henry coming in is a negative. I just thought those things were a little bit strange with the signing, but he's an excellent running back, still has his legs in him, still runs quick, still gigantic. An excellent running back, and should take a little bit off of Lamar on the goal line, especially. Wide receiver room, Zay Flowers, I really like, and the rest are 2s and 3s. Rashad Bateman really still hasn't come along yet. Nelson Aguilar, Tyson Wallace, Russell Gage, Devontae Walker, Deontay Hardy. These are all similar-ish players that are okay, can do a job, but nothing special. So it's not great. This is a Zay Flowers injury from being like one of the worst wide receiver rooms in the league, surely. So don't love the pass catchers, but there's some traits, and Zay Flowers, as we said, is excellent, does well to get open all the time. So hopefully he can carry the wide receiver room. Tight end, Mark Andrews should be back healthy. He's kind of in and out last year. Isaiah Likely is a really good fit and a really good backup. So the tight end room is one of the best in the league. Good pass catchers here, and you get some really good athleticism with Isaiah Likely as well. Offensive line, interesting. They lose 3 starters here, right tackle, both guards. The only 2 to stay, Ronnie Stanley. We'll see about him. Seems like an average left tackle right now. Tyler Linderbaum, a good center. So those are the 2 that stay. And then you get into the guard positions. Voorhees probably starts at left guard, 7th round pick last year. So we'll see if he can, take a step here. Right guard is going to be Ben Cleveland or Falalele. Looks like Falalele right now, but probably interchangeable. Nothing particularly great. And then right tackle, Makari or the rookie Rosengarten. So it's an interesting group. We'll see how they gel, how they look. It's a step down for sure on the offensive line. And they'll need the players who start. Ronnie Stanley has to have a good year. The interior has to have a good year. There's a lot of question marks right now on this Baltimore offensive line. But you have a good scrambling quarterback, and you have a big old running back who will force his own holes if he needs to. So that's the offense. Onto the defense. We'll start with Mike McDonald. We were talking about him earlier. This is a big loss, potentially, if Zach Orr is not as good, obviously. But Mike McDonald was really good game to game. Really good at making game plans specifically for each team. He did incredibly well in the playoffs last year. The offense was what let them down in the playoff games, in the game versus the Chiefs, obviously. But Mike McDonald did great, and he did great without. The offense or the defensive line got sacks. He was, clever, but there's no real standout on the defensive line either. So he did really well to scheme and all that stuff. So this is an excellent coordinator who's gone, and we'll see how that looks going forward. But Zach Orr comes in, and he'll hope to replicate that kind of stuff. So it'll be interesting. Take a few games to kind of get used to it and see where they're looking. But yeah, that's theoretically a big loss there. As for the roster, we can go to the D-line. On edge, they lose Clowney, who's probably their best pass rusher last year on the edge. The rest of the edge department is kind of just, I don't want to say rotational guys. There's no real standout. Kyle Van Noy's pretty solid. Odafe Owe is someone I like, but that finishing product never seems to get there. Ojabo, there's his first year last year. He was pretty decent. Tavius Robinson's okay. So decent depth, but no real standout there on the edge. Interior, Matabuike, he had an excellent year last year, though his sack total was probably a little bit inflated compared to how well he actually rushed the passer. Michael Pierce, Travis Jones are really nice big bodies in next to him. So the defensive line, I'm not saying it's bad, but I would like a standout pass rusher here. Otherwise, this is going to be like a game-to-game. Someone has to stand out. They have to scheme some stuff open for empty pass rushers. And Matabuike is probably going to get more doubles this year. I don't expect him to be as good as he was last year, but we'll see. Linebacker room. Interesting, obviously. Roquan Smith is a top 2-3 linebacker, wherever you want to put him. 1, 2, 3. So you don't have to do too much about Roquan Smith. He's just got to stay healthy because his partner, Trenton Simpson, he was pretty decent in that late Baltimore game, but he also has like 49 total snaps for him. So baptism by fire kind of stuff this year. And Roquan Smith gets hurt. That is a really gross room. So obviously best linebacker or two in the league with Roquan Smith, and then nothing great after that. So you'd like him to stay healthy. Secondaries, pretty interesting. The safeties are elite, both of them. Kyle Hamilton's really good, stepping up in the box, blitzing, doing the regular safety stuff too. He's an interesting kind of player. He's all over the field all the time. He's so good. And then Marcus Williams has been top 5, 6, 7 free safety over the last 3-4 years. So two really good safeties that kind of anchor the defense. Corner is interesting. Marlon Humphrey's really good, but he's hurt. He's been hurt quite a bit, so he needs to stay healthy. And then Nate Wiggins gets drafted. He'll play alongside Brandon Stevens. Nothing particularly great. Nate Wiggins probably has to get off to a decent start. Otherwise, corner might be a bit of an issue. Depth is not really particularly great. Excuse me. So love the safeties. You have a good corner in Marlon Humphrey. The other two safety Brandon Stevens is a good player. Nate Wiggins is a rookie at a position that's problematic. So we'll see, because the depth is not good. So need them all to play well and to stay healthy. Schedule, interesting because it's kind of just straightforward. You're going to play your good teams. You're going to play your bad teams. You don't have any crazy awful stretches or crazy good stretches where you're home for 3 or 4 games in a row. You're not away for 3 or 4 games in a row. So it's interesting, but they start off at Kansas City, the curtain raiser for the NFL. I believe 2.5 3-point dogs there to start. Home to Las Vegas, at Dallas, home to Buffalo, at Cincy. So it's a tough starting 5 for sure. If you watched our Bengals video, we had Did we do the bet? I'm not sure if we've done the Bengals video yet, but we have a bet in there that's for this. There's Bengals to have more wins than the Ravens after 5 games because the Cincinnati schedule starts off nice. And this one's really difficult, as we said, at Kansas City, at Dallas, at Cincinnati, and Buffalo, and Las Vegas sandwiched in between. So those are 4 really tough teams. You expect them to win the Las Vegas game, but the other ones are toss-ups, and that game's in Cincinnati as well. So difficult. Then you have Washington, a rookie quarterback, and then at Tampa, at Cleveland. And then you get 2 home games here, Denver, Cincinnati, at Pitt, at the Chargers, home to Philly before your late bye. Late bye is good. At the Giants, Pitt, at Houston, home to Cleveland. So it's just a very straightforward schedule. You don't see too many of these. You always find little quirks and things like that, but nothing crazy here. The start is difficult, as we said. So, there may be a world here where this, I don't want to say 1-4, but, they're 2-3. That's probably the time to buy because they're kind of just getting used to the new defensive coordinator, getting used to the new offensive line pieces. And it's a tough schedule to start. So if they start off poorly, that's probably your time to buy in terms of Baltimore. But the rest, as I said, it's pretty straightforward. You got your division games. You got a tough game in there. Home to Philly, at Houston late on, I believe that's on Christmas. And then nothing super, super terrible. Washington, Tampa Bay, Denver, Chargers, Phillies, Giants, Houston outside of your division. So it's nothing super crazy, nothing super difficult after the first 5. So an interesting team. But we have 2 bets. This is mostly based on the defense here. Justin Madubuike under 9.25 sacks at -140, a $1 bet. And then Ravens total sacks under 48.5 at -110. That is a $1 bet. Last year they got to 60, and outplayed their pressure rate by getting to 60. Madubuike did well to get to, I believe he got to 13.5, but he also, just in terms of how pressures convert to sacks, he was just over the top. I expect him to get more doubles this year. I expect him to be the guy they kind of key in on in the interior, make the other guys beat you. So I think he'll be under. And then we did Ravens total under. This is just a defense thing or a defensive coordinator thing. So we'll see. He did really well to scheme open lanes and scheme sacks and stuff like that. They lose their best edge rusher in Clowney. I also think because of the way the offensive line is, I think they're going to run it a little bit more in their better spaces with a better running back and a lot of more RPO kind of stuff with Lamar. I also think because the offensive line has holes in it on the right side especially, I think you're going to get a lot of quick passes here, which normally means time is running just a little bit extra this year. So I think games will be just a little bit shorter here for the Ravens. And I think their pressure rate to sack rate comes down just a touch. And then we're in that 48.5 sack range anyway. So I don't expect it to fall off. I don't expect it to look like the pass rush is awful or anything, but 60 is a ton they got last year. As I said, Madubuike finished off plays well, but didn't necessarily create pressures at a 13.5 sack rate. So expect that to drop a little bit with his doubles, and I expect the team as a whole to be playing shorter games, and I expect the defense to lose just a little bit as Mike McDonald goes. So those are our plays, and that is our preview for the 2024 Ravens.